episode of the Last of Us Talk Show. I'm your host, Mikie, and today we are covering or doing our instant reaction to Season 1, Episode 2, Infected, directed by Neil Druckman. And what an episode this was! My goodness. Again, no spoilers in this episode. This is just an instant reaction on how I'm feeling after watching the episode. And I feel like this is amazing. This is just getting better and better. We're only on the episode 2, technically episode 3, right? Because as they said, that first episode was kind of 2 episodes smashed together. That's why it was an hour and a half long. Here we get a normal episode length. Of premiere television. It's an hour long. And it just keeps getting better and better. And from what I've heard through reviews, is that is how the TV show is. I don't know if you guys know, but a lot of reviewers out there, when the reviews were first coming out, when The Last of Us was getting like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, there was a lot of reviewers who were sent like half of the season early, right? So they had already watched 5 episodes at the time of those reviews. And I've heard that a lot of those reviewers have also been given the rest of the episodes now and have watched more episodes. And I just keep hearing it actually still keeps getting better. So I'm really looking forward to see this now. Just hearing that kind of feedback, that going, no, actually, episode 1 might actually be the weakest episode of them all, and it was not a weak episode at all. It was not weak. It was a great episode. So if it's just going to keep going like this, where it keeps getting better and better and better and better and better, that's just, what more could you ask for from watching a TV show, a series? So I'm really excited about that. Okay, so like I said, I obviously really enjoyed this episode. So much to enjoy. Again, without getting into spoilers, I got to say the acting from again, Pedro Pascal, Anna Torv, Bella Ramsey all did great here. Especially the performance by Bella Ramsey, right? I thought it was amazing in this episode. So again, for me, we didn't get that much of Ellie in the first episode, and what I saw was like, okay, that was pretty good. We didn't get to see much, so I don't know how I really felt about her performance overall. I wasn't like leaning one way or the other. I just said, okay, that's Ellie. We're getting to see Ellie. I saw some takes from people saying that, like, they didn't know if Bella Ramsey had what it takes to play Ellie, right? Based off of that first episode, especially if, because remember, this is being adapted from a video game. So there's going to be a lot of people that are deeply connected to that Ellie character who are going to come in and see it right away and go, like, they're going to start looking for things like what, that don't feel right. So apparently there was a faction of fans that were kind of feeling that way, kind of feeling a little bit iffy on that first episode. If that's how you were feeling first episode, now that we're on episode 2, Infected, there is no possible way you are feeling that way. You should have watched this episode and said, no, yep, they got it right. Bella Ramsey is Ellie and is doing a fantastic job. So really great about that. I feel really great about that. Still going performance wise, Pedro Pascal, obviously, he doesn't miss. He was great throughout this episode. All the different situations that Joel is put in throughout this episode, you can really read it on Pedro Pascal's face. He does a great job of emoting. And we already have the Mandalorian, where we don't get to see his face much in that. And I thought there was a chance that we might have to see that in this show as well, because if you don't know the video game, there's a lot of gas masks being worn. We've already been told that that's not going to happen in the TV show, because and it's a very smart decision that they made, because in the video game, um, you know, one of the ways that the infection spreads is through spores, and you can breathe in spores, right? In a video game, it makes sense. You can, you have safe zones where you're not breathing in spores or whatever, but then you have zones where you got to put a gas mask on. Doesn't really work that way in the real world, right? So, but we'll get more into that when we do the comparison episode from the game to the TV show. But I think that was a smart decision that they made, seeing it throughout this episode, just getting to see the really detailed, facial expressions that Pedro Pascal can make. And it came in really handy in this episode with him not having to wear, some sort of big gas mask that would be getting in the way of those facial expressions. And a Torv, again, like I said, I was really impressed in that first episode. The second episode, still really impressed. Again, we just followed these three characters really throughout this episode, and so the performances from all three needed to be strong, and not one of them let down. So, really great part on that. For me, the environment just felt so good in this, right? From the beginning of the episode when they first walk out, we pick up right where we left off from the second episode, from the first episode, right? So we're out of the quarantine zone now. They're out in the wild basically. So when we get a full like landscape view of that, it looks amazing. It looks just like you would imagine from the video game. In the video game, it's all video game graphics, very high detailed graphics, especially if you've played the remaster or whatnot. But now that you get to see it, like in a real life setting, it looks amazing. It looks amazing. They did a good job of translating it, and it actually looking like you imagine from the video game, but making it look like real life, and that it's a real world that has been lived in, worn down, destroyed by the infection, by the destruction that the infection caused, and the destruction around the world that was caused by humans because of the infection. Like, it just, yeah, the environment was really great. When they're outside, anytime that they're inside the buildings, all feels real. I thought that was all great. Music, great throughout the episode. Sound was a big one in this one, right? So there's a lot of things that they get so right in the sound. We're gonna see again, no spoilers, but there's things in this episode that you're gonna see that have a specific sound in the video game, and they nailed it. It sounds amazing. So again, great job. Just great job all around on this episode. Absolutely loved it. I think that's pretty much all we're going to cover here, right? We covered, yes, the acting was great, set design was great, the production was great, the directing was great. Neil Druckman directed this episode. The writer director of the video game came in, directed this episode, did fantastic. Part of the reason why I'm sure they got so many shots that look, just like the video game, set up in the same way, that things feel like they're supposed to feel from the video game. Things look like they're supposed to, like they're supposed to look from the video game. Sorry. Yeah, amazing all around overall episode. Can't wait to get to the breakdown, spoiler review with you guys. But for now, make sure that you let me know how you feel. If you're watching the YouTube version of the podcast, leave your comments and let me know how you're feeling about this episode. again, you can email in, get me on social. You can leave reviews wherever, but make sure you're subscribed, following, uh, whatever you need to do on the podcast feed that you're on, or if you're on YouTube, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're not missing anything. Again, please. A big part of this for me is I want feedback. I want to talk about this with people. So please leave comments, leave feedback. This is something that I'm really excited to talk about, and can't wait to talk about the details of this episode in the spoiler review. So don't miss it. But yeah, that is going to be the episode. So until next time, endure and survive.